Sleeping with America. Last night I slept with America. He stripped me naked but left all his clothes on, barely unzipping enough to take me down. He spread my legs and humped me over the Rockies. I arched my back and flowed into his Everglades. I flung out my arms and the cities propped me up. And when he was done with me, he rolled over into the smog for a deep breath before slipping into his siren sleep. Asleep, he cried out with the many nightmare voices who had owned him. He tossed and turned, filled with fear of the neighbors he had fucked over once too often. I leaned over him and his breath smelled like raw meat. I finished undressing him and his skin was scarred and uneven. Deep ridges crisscrossed his smooth land with concrete, asphalt, and steel, and large patches were discolored from poison runoff. I kissed between the scars where pockets of sweet memory remained, and he moaned with pain. I caressed the scars, tracing out a dot-to-dot connection, and he sighed with desire. Then I removed his shoes, and dust slipped out, billowing out into the room, dust smelling of wheat and sawdust and hard roads. It wasn't until I removed his socks that I began to understand. But still, I caressed the hooves and searched his black hair for a horn to call him home from the war he dreams himself into over and over again. Yeah. This is a word acrostic. I've actually done two. One I wrote a long time ago. This is based on something that Stephen Johnson Leba had said online, and I built a poem on it. It's either sadness or euphoria. Here's his quote. How thoughtlessly we dissipate our energies. Perhaps we don't fulfill each other's fantasies, and so we'll stand upon the ledges of our lives with our respective similarities. It's either sadness or euphoria. Stephen Johnson Leba. How often our suns set on our unprepared evenings, thoughtlessly shadowing the bricks of our achievements. We, who thought ourselves invulnerable in our tech hopes, dissipate reality through a home-brewn beer poverty. Our misuse of technology, sociology, political science, MBA, energies that left humanity out of their fast future equations. Perhaps the rabbit hole can be found again under that blossoming tree we found in the arms of our first date, when hope and love were young. Don't go where we thought they would. Yellow brick road us and fulfill the bridal veil chain and ball groom love forever after happy ending. Each of us were taught to Disney screen reality into Belle blood love songs, hoping other ways could be found, other mountain troll tunnels or scavenger spaceship, fantasies that fed us dreams as a kernel of hope in our nightmare-wrapped lives. And the cliff, the high-rise, the mountain, the bridge, the lightning and tsunamis, so often interfering with our commerce-bled lives, with no Cuban plans for rescue, but we'll climb back to our feet and bury our dead dreams with the leftover flotsam, and stand on the land we've been loaned by the banks, the cash-driven commercial promises, upon which we based our office, neighbor, school competition for the newest, the one that sparkles, that empty hot day we loaned our life away only to find it was the ledge that gave us comfort. When latte, wine, weed, ice-snorted days did not know of our early promise, slick-back school, photo graduation, stamped ejection from our candy cotton youth cruelty, where the centerfold is us and the lies promised on TV that weren't supposed to have us flying off that ledge without wings. With skin shades muted by rain and dark and accents scratched into a blur by lightning, our individuality slips skins of unbalanced upbringing over the inheritances we share. Respective of the China dog, leather, baseball glove, Barbie, G.I. Joe, doll, and ball, similarities, breast, bottle, babies, hungry, toddling childhood, each of us share. It's down that long and winding mad road shaded by the scythe and cypress, redwood oak, either roots and branches tying generations together or the unclaimed grave. Sadness one side of the equation they boxed our lives in with. But it is no and or situation that has tied our hands and masked our eyes, because euphoria is just there in front of us if we just look into each other's eyes. Okay, this is the word acrostic I did a while ago. It's from a line from the Declaration. Declaration. We necklace our chokehold of American cities across once fertile fields, hold our wallets twisted heart close, filled with paper plastic pictures that know these pallid faded reflections of childhood dreams are not the only truths told to us in moments ticking us forward into the alarm of tomorrow. To be given just a passing hobo hitchhiker glance of longing and mourning for truth, to be there for us at 3 a.m. when the clock and moon cry foul, cry don't forget, cry be still each self, known to all cyberspace data streams that cannot match adds to our loneliness. Evident of the fact that we only acknowledge each other at weddings, at births, at funerals, that we barely know to swim upstream against genetic wishes our ancestors unburdened onto us. All chalkboard versus DNA disagreements tested out until we fail our own expectations. Men and women growing blinder each passing year from multiple media pollution are searching out their own lost hopes in each newborn's eyes when the blue-gray film created by Gaia in a fit of compassionate infancy. Before we see what loss, equal in distribution, is fingerprinted, unique onto each hand, before it can reach out wanting, that umbilical line of cloyingly close communication when blood spoke to blood, wanting, all returned to us during the steaming bed game search, when we almost merged during orgasm's little death, or almost touched deep enough in return before limp expectations and semen-stained sighs, endowed equally with failure and hope, perform their mimicking ego dance of endings. By use of words that unbridge us from each other's bodies, by use of that same old song that their fear guarantees as a corporate resolution generated in too many meetings, in a foreshadowing of creator-bred black moments, spent in payphone collect calls to a lying God that is no longer good enough, with the world shrinking down to a final cell phone call, red button ending airliner World Trade Center disaster, certain to create martyrs in all the dark places where angels dare not tread, on the head of a nuclear pin party, unalienable truths of hangdog death, following sweet bitter life back to the nova ending we once emerged from. Rights of stardust revoked as we unravel our own blueprints and try to legislate away our own deification that cannot clone a protection from ourselves because we do not know who we are. Among a universe of seemingly silent stars who won't speak to us, and we can't bring close enough to tell us why these hard questions hurt, and why this middling star spins anyway, and why on this one planet a billion people are rushing like lemmings to pave over paradise in favor of concrete cliffs that can crush us, as life betrays our silent, womb-warm beginnings in favor of nosy, noisy voices we ignore in peril. Liberty, a jilted lover left in sackcloth and ashes at the fanatic corporate religious lockdown doors, and each new baby's cry is an echo of oceanic loss, as unpolluted saltwater drains from eyes, as the wind of war balloons out our lungs until funereal smoke cuts off that final bone-to-bone connection, so pursuit of that 7-year complete cell-to-cell renewal is lost, and we stretch out our souls with arms of longing for that final self-reflection of our face in a subway stranger's eyes, finding happiness at the end of the line finally being just a handshake and a smile between us. Can you tell me how much I have left?
I think a couple more. Yeah, 2 more.
Okay. Thank you, Invocation. The infant in my heart squalls for the growth of cells that have infiltrated almost every inch of this beautiful rock, dazzling in its opal beauty as it glows blue, green, white in the velvet night of stars. The immortal in my brain hovers around the hearth that has kept away the howling pack, or striped death, desert claws of sand kissed by a mane of fear. Now the fires burn beneath a cylinder of hope to the moon. I dance with the children of Stonehenge, Notre Dame, Camelot and the Great Plains, in the scattered sun shadow that has ever eye-burnt our images, when that final breath of air layers sorrow behind the minutes to come. Okay, and one last one. Oh, it doesn't make a clap or clap. Some of these are still pretty raw. I haven't read them out loud before. That's where you find out how hard they are to read out loud. After the flood. There's a thanks to Julia, she inspired this one. As Noah did from God to listener, as I cite the list for building for my friend. How many nails of infamy? How many hammers for peace? How many trees to cut down to paper that poem just right? But my friend swamps my fragile boat, tells me to listen harder for the heartbeats in the lines, while the flood rises up higher and higher around me. And so I take off the skin of defense, peeling off the lack of immunity from the sore points and rash decisions then strip away that fat cushioning me from the cold and disillusion. But still I can't hear the 2x2 heartbeats that built the Christian myth in my youth into a zoo even Simon and Garfunkel would be proud to happen into. And the rainbow of birds cry out to be feathered from the bright green jungle of muscled right-of-way hunters and prey, while the vast plains of my back reverberate with elephantine footsteps and the herded call of the wild stampede. But it is until I crack open the ribbed white bone cages, where the spongy wings of breath hide out from the roar of the lion-hearted, that I finally hear the heart of the story beating in the Aztec demands of my hands, and my frantic face unfolds again while the flood surges, and my friend and I wait for Charon's lamp to highlight the shore of the river Styx once more. Thank you.